Hello and welcome back to mArEaZi Premium Photography. If you just joined me, hopefully you went through the clone stamp video. Hopefully you went through the frequency separation video. And now it's time for the sharpen video. So, let me give a little background. I used to shoot with an 85mm 1.8. I recently jumped up to an 85mm 1.2. The 1.8 was good, but it wasn't as sharp as the 1.2. At the time, I couldn't afford the 1.2, but I wanted my images to look like the 1.2 sharpness. So I developed some sharpening techniques along my way that I've just played around with. And here are some of my best techniques that I've used to sharpen my images. All right, let's get started. So, as you remember, for the newbies and the people that's just starting out, we have the blur layer here, and then we also have the sharp layer here, right? So, what happens if you erase the blur layer? Your image gets superly sharp, as you can see on the screen. And for some reason, it's superly sharp, right? And if you erase the blur layer, if you erase the sharpen layer, your image gets superly blurry, right? So it's a balance. So I thought to myself one day, as my phone beeps, again, I told everybody that this is a live video, no edits involved. All right, so I told myself one day, what happens if I erase some of the blur layer? Won't some of that sharpness come through? And you know what? I was right. I erased some of the blur layer and a lot of the sharpness came through. So I'm going to grab my erase. I'm going to turn my flow down to about 10. Now this does mean something because you don't want to have it too fake looking. I'm going to turn off my background layer and then I'm going to start erasing things. Now let me tell you what's important to erase. You can erase fabric. Let me show you what happens when you erase fabric. Again, I'm erasing the blur layer off of the fabric that she's wearing. For everyone watching, I don't know what this is right here, this area. I'm on a MacBook and I have a 4K display, so that shouldn't be there. And maybe it's Photoshop's fault, but I don't know. But that's not supposed to be blurry like that. But let's continue. You can actually erase some of the blur off the hair, right? Now let's see what happens when we add the background back in. All the areas that I just erased is down a little bit sharper, right? And in some cases, it might be a little too sharp because if you look at the skin on the chest compared to the jacket, it's so much texture in the jacket. It's not as much texture in the skin. So I'm actually going to do something. I'm going to erase a little bit of the blur out of the skin. Now, as you can see, I added a little bit more texture to her skin to match the texture with the jacket. You don't want the skin to be overly processed and then everything around her just looks overly just like how it's supposed to be, and then the skin is a bad transition. So that looks good to me. Let me bring it back out to the global view. That looks good. Now, what else can we sharpen to make this image stand out? So we can definitely do a little sharpening on her eyebrows. Why? Because that's just what we want to do. So I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller. And it's effective to just try to do one pass. So I'm going to do one pass over the eyebrows, because if you do more than one pass, you're going to have areas that are too sharp and areas that aren't sharp enough. I'm doing one pass over the eyelashes, and then I'm going to select my background layer back on so I can see the progress and see what I'm actually doing. So if you look at it, it's just that little bit much more sharper, right? And then let's do the lips. So I have to make my brush a little bit smaller because I don't want to overly sharpen areas that I don't want sharpened except for the lip. So go across and then go to the bottom lip. Make the bottom lip a little bit more bigger. All right, cool. That looks good. Now, with that being said, we got that done. That looks sharpened. Now, what's the most thing in a photo that gets your picture to pop? If it's a headshot, it's the eyes. That's what we gravitate towards. As humans, we look in people's eyes, right? So if we're looking at this image and we want this image to pop, we want her eyes to pop, right? So we're going to deselect the background layer. We have the eraser tool again. Again, like I said, the flow is at 10. And we're just going to do a couple circles around the eyes. Now, a couple circles is going to be more than 10 because if you think about it, it's a buildup. So it's about maybe 20-ish. It's no exact number. But if you bring it back, now look how more the eyes just pop out. They're just like almost off the screen. It's just awesome. And we're going to sharpen the teeth too. Just one pass across the teeth. Bam. Done. That's all we need. So, that's how you sharpen the image. And you can do a little bit extra sharpening if you want areas to be more sharp. You can turn your flow down even further if you want less sharp. And that's how you sharpen. That's how I found to be the most effective way to sharpen. Sometimes I even sharpen the side and the edges of the face. But I don't do that always because sometimes you erase your progress and your frequency separation. But and in this case, I don't have to go that far. Now, stay tuned for the next video because the next video I'm going to show you guys on this image how I would dodge and burn it. Now, a lot of people heard of dodge and burn. Some people are scared of it. Some people tried it and they hate it. I was one of those people. I tried it and I hate it, and then I learned a few techniques and I learned to make it easier. So with that being said, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you want. Again, these are my first YouTube videos, so I might not get to every comment. I'm going to try my hardest. And we're going to keep building together. We're going to keep making African-American beauties. And we're going to keep popping out these photos. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.